Welcome to Afterlife Message, where we explore incredible stories of second chances, the afterlife, and the mysteries beyond. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and click the bell icon so you never miss a moment of these fascinating journeys. Let us begin the discussion.
Okay, so get this. We're diving into the story of a stuntman who had a near-death experience. But it wasn't just any near-death experience. This guy claims he was completely conscious the whole time.
Wow.
No dream state, no loss of consciousness. He remembers it all. And he says he even spoke with an angel.
That's incredible. It really makes you think about what happens when we die. You know?
Exactly. Let's get into it. This is the story of John Smith.
Okay.
John grew up in the Midwest, always dreamed of Hollywood.
Yeah.
And you know what? He actually made it happen.
Oh.
Landed a gig as a stuntman on a TV show filming in Arizona.
Good for him.
And it was during a totally normal lunch break that things took a wild turn.
Oh, wow. What happened?
Well, John decided to jog a few blocks to the bank to cash his paycheck.
Okay.
And as he was crossing a busy street, a pickup truck just appeared out of nowhere.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and he got hit. He got hit.
Oh, gosh.
And I'm not talking about a fender bender here. This guy was thrown into the air.
Wow.
And John says that's when he left his body.
He had an out-of-body experience.
That's right. He describes looking down from about 15 feet up in the air, seeing himself lying there, the truck, the shattered glass. It's like something out of a movie.
It's amazing how many people who have near-death experiences describe that same thing, that feeling of being detached from their body looking down on the scene.
It's wild, right?
Yeah.
But for John, this was real life. And it's at this point that he says he entered what he calls the other side.
So what was it like? Was it like a dark void?
Not at all. He found himself in this space that felt white and expansive, almost like being surrounded by clouds.
Interesting. That feeling of peace, of being surrounded by light. It's a common thread in a lot of near-death experience accounts.
So no fire and brimstone.
Not in John's case, anyway. It was more like a sense of tranquility being bathed in warmth and light. And you know what else is interesting?
What's that?
Many people who have had NDEs describe encountering beings of light.
Okay, so that brings us to the angel that John claims to have spoken with. But he said it wasn't like a normal conversation.
Right. It wasn't with spoken words. He describes it more like telepathic communication. Thoughts, emotions, even smells and images were conveyed directly.
Whoa, hold on. So it's like pure thought-to-thought communication.
That's how he explains it. It's kind of mind-blowing, isn't it? To think about a level of communication that goes beyond our earthly limitations, where words are almost unnecessary.
That's incredible. So what did they talk about? What was this angel communicating to him?
Well, one of the most profound aspects of John's experience was what's often called life review.
A life review?
Yeah, imagine your entire past unfolding before you every moment, replayed with the same clarity and intensity as when you first lived it.
Wow.
And it wasn't just passively watching. He felt the emotions, the choices, everything.
So he relived his entire life in an instant.
It seems that way. And this idea of a life review, it pops up in different spiritual traditions too. It's fascinating.
It really makes you think, like, is there something to these recurring themes that transcend culture and religion?
I know it's a question a lot of researchers are trying to answer. From a psychological perspective, some suggest it could be the brain's way of processing trauma, a kind of survival mechanism when faced with death.
Oh, so like your life flashing before your eyes, but on a much deeper level.
Exactly. But then you have other interpretations that are more spiritual in nature that see the life review as serving a higher purpose.
Like what?
Well, maybe it helps us confront our actions, come to terms with who we are, maybe even understand our purpose in the grand scheme of things, you know?
That's deep. So John wasn't just reliving his past. He was also shown a future he hadn't lived yet.
That's what he says. He described seeing a woman and a child, a little boy playing in a field, and he just knew instantly that this was his wife and his son, a future family he hadn't met yet in his earthly life.
Wow, what a beautiful image.
It is, but then he was told that he no longer existed, that this future wasn't for him.
Oh man, that must have been devastating.
Yeah.
To be shown this incredible vision and then have it taken away.
I can't even imagine. But it really highlights the power of our desires, doesn't it? The longing for connection, for love for family.
Absolutely. But here's where John's story takes an even crazier turn. He says he was given a choice to stay in this peaceful realm or to return to his life.
He had a choice to come back even after being told he no longer existed.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it raises so many questions about free will, about our deepest desires, and about what consciousness really is. Even in this extraordinary situation, he was able to make a decision.
Unbelievable. So how did he come back? Was it a gradual process?
Nope. He describes it as an instant transition. 1 minute, he's with this angel. The next, he's back in his body, seconds away from impact with the truck. He even had time to brace himself for the fall.
Wow, that's incredible. And he remained conscious through the entire thing.
That's the thing that makes his story so unique. He wasn't unconscious in a hospital bed. He was actively present throughout this entire otherworldly journey. And when he came back, the impact it had on him was profound.
I bet. So let's talk about that impact. What kind of injuries did he sustain from the accident?
Well, he had fractured wrists, deep cuts on his palms, a fractured spine, and serious facial injuries from going through the windshield.
Oh my gosh, that's awful.
It was a brutal accident, but even with all of that, he never lost consciousness.
It's amazing he survived.
And get this, he even comforted the young driver who hit him.
Wow, that's incredible. What do you think that says about someone who's come back from an experience like that?
I don't know. It's like maybe they come back with this overwhelming sense of empathy and compassion, like they've tapped into a level of understanding and forgiveness that we rarely see here.
That's a beautiful thought. It's like the experience of unconditional love they encounter in that other realm stays with them when they return.
Yeah, exactly. So what about his recovery? Did those injuries have lasting effects?
Well, the doctors were amazed by how quickly he healed. Some of his injuries, especially the bone fractures, mended way faster than they should have. They called it immaculate healing.
Immaculate healing.
Yeah, it was like something miraculous was happening. But even with this seemingly miraculous recovery, he did have trouble walking for about a year after the accident.
Maybe a concussion or something.
Could be. But there's no denying the impact of this near-death experience, both physically and emotionally. It changed him on a fundamental level.
That makes sense. So how did this experience shape John's life long term? He said something about his soul not feeling sacred anymore. What do you think he meant by that?
He described it as a shift in perspective on life and death, a decreased fear of dying, and a deeper connection to everything around him. It's like he's seeing the world through completely new eyes.
I can see that. Like his newfound compassion for injured animals. It's as if he's driven by this deeper empathy now.
That's a common thread among people who have had NDEs. This shift in perspective often leads to a change in priorities, material possessions status. Those things just don't seem as important anymore.
It's like they've seen something beyond the surface and it changes everything.
Exactly. And it often inspires them to live more authentically, more in line with their true purpose. But there's another piece of John's story that we should talk about. He mentioned hearing a voice guiding him, even helping him save his friend from drowning.
Yes, that's what really got me. It's like he has this inner compass now, guiding his actions, even in life or death situations.
It's pretty amazing. And speaking of life or death, let's talk about that rescue. It sounds like something out of a movie.
Totally.
Yeah.
So John and his friend David were out sailing when all of a sudden, John gets this overwhelming feeling that something bad is about to happen.
Oh, no.
Yeah. He even asked David, "What are the chances of us getting knocked off the boat?" And David's like, 0 chance.
Uh-oh.
And then boom, this huge gust of wind comes out of nowhere and throws David overboard.
And John jumped in after him.
Without a second thought.
Yeah.
He said it was pure instinct driven by this inner voice he'd been hearing.
Wow.
And it wasn't an easy rescue either. David was panicking, struggling to stay afloat, and John had to keep himself calm and above water while making sure his friend didn't drown.
That takes incredible courage and strength.
Right. And then to make matters worse, as the boat circled back to try and help it, they accidentally ran over David.
No way.
Yeah, John had to dive under the boat, find David, and pull him back up to the surface. It's like a real-life action hero story.
It really is. And John says he wouldn't have been able to do it without that intuition, that inner voice guiding him through those critical moments.
So what do you make of this voice? Is it some kind of divine intervention? Or could it be explained by psychological changes after a traumatic event?
That's a question that's been debated for centuries, and there's no easy answer. Some might interpret it as a higher power at work, a spiritual connection to something beyond our understanding. Others might see it as the brain's way of adapting to trauma, its incredible ability to change and cope.
It's definitely something to think about. But one thing is clear. This experience fundamentally changed John. It's like he's living in the same world, but seeing it through a completely different lens.
Yeah, absolutely. He talks about his soul not feeling sacred anymore, like he's lost his fear of death. And this newfound perspective has made him more compassionate, more aware of the interconnectedness of all things.
Like rescuing those injured animals, being there for his friend when he needed him most. It seems his capacity for empathy has deepened tremendously.
And that's something we see a lot in people who've had NDEs. They report a decreased fear of death, a greater appreciation for life, and a profound sense of connection to everything around them.
It's as if they've touched something beyond our everyday reality, and that touch has changed them forever.
You said it. What if we all had a glimpse beyond the veil? How would it change us? How would it change the world?
Those are some big questions to ponder. But John's story definitely gives us a lot to think about.
It does. There's so much more to unpack here, especially his changing relationship with religion and his experience overcoming addiction.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like those are key parts of his transformation, too.
Totally. I'm eager to hear more about that. Let's dive deeper into those aspects of John's story.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Okay, so we're back and ready to hear more about John's journey, especially his evolving relationship with religion and his experience with overcoming addiction.
Yeah, those are some powerful aspects of his story. It's like this near-death experience completely shook up his belief system and gave him the strength to break free from something that had a hold on him.
That's pretty amazing, right? He talked about being raised in a specific denomination, but now he considers himself more spiritual than religious.
You know, that resonates with a lot of near-death experience accounts. It's like the experience expands their understanding of what's divine. Yeah. They often find traditional religious structures too limiting and seek a more personal experiential connection to something greater than themselves.
It's like we put ourselves in these boxes with labels and rigid beliefs, and maybe these experiences crack open those boxes and allow us to see a bigger picture, a more fluid understanding of the universe and where we fit in.
That's a really interesting way to put it. It's like they've touched a truth that goes beyond words and traditional structures. They're looking for a more direct connection to the source, whatever that source may be.
And it's not just about beliefs. It's about how they live their lives, how this newfound awareness translates into action.
That's so true. Take John's experience with alcohol. He struggled with it in the past, but after the accident, he just stopped.
He just quit cold turkey.
Yeah, he credits that same inner voice, the one that guided him during the rescue, with telling him he didn't need to drink anymore.
Wow, it's like something just clicked inside of him.
That's exactly how he describes it. It wasn't a gradual process of willpower and struggle. It was this sudden shift, a clarity that came from within, as if his whole being realigned itself.
It's hard to believe it could be that easy, right? To overcome addiction just like that.
Of course, everyone's journey is different, and we can't generalize from one person's experience, but it is fascinating how many people who've had NDEs report this feeling of clarity, a new sense of purpose that helps them break free from destructive patterns.
It's as if they've glimpsed a life beyond their struggles, a potential for themselves that they maybe didn't believe in before.
That's such a powerful insight. It's like they've been given a second chance, a fresh start, and they're determined to make the most of it.
It's like the experience has stripped away all those layers of self-doubt and fear, leaving them with a more authentic self aligned with a higher purpose.
Exactly. And that brings us to the heart of John's message. He believes our true purpose is to learn to love and to accept each other. To live with compassion and understanding, recognizing that we're all connected.
That's a beautiful message.
It is, and it's a message that resonates even for those of us who haven't had a near-death experience.
It really does. It speaks to this universal longing for connection, for meaning, for a life filled with love and purpose.
You know, it's incredible how a single event, a brush with death, can create such a ripple effect. It not only transforms the person who goes through it, but also touches the lives of everyone around them.
It really highlights how interconnected we all are, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Our actions, our stories have the power to inspire, to heal, to remind each other what really matters.
John's story is a testament to that. It's a story about resilience, about the power of the human spirit to overcome adversity, to find meaning, even in the face of the unknown, and to embrace life with a renewed sense of purpose. It makes you wonder, what if we all lived with that awareness, that sense of urgency, to truly make the most of the time we have?
Yeah, what would that look like?
Imagine the ripple effect it would have on our relationships, our communities, the world. If we could embrace the lessons John learned through his near-death experience.
The importance of love, acceptance, seeing our shared humanity.
Exactly. He truly believes those are the keys to a more fulfilling and harmonious existence for everyone.
And he's living proof of that, isn't he? rescuing injured animals, being a supportive friend, sharing his story in hopes of inspiring others to live more consciously and compassionately.
He is, and it's a reminder that we all have the capacity for that kind of change, even without having a near-death experience. We can choose to focus on what matters: love, connection, kindness, and make a positive impact.
Absolutely. Who knows, maybe by embracing those values, we might start to experience that feeling of interconnectedness, that sense of oneness that John felt on the other side.
It's a beautiful thought. The idea that we're all connected, part of something larger than ourselves, and that our actions have the power to create a more loving and compassionate world.
So powerful. But John leaves us with a question to ponder. He saw a glimpse of his future, a future with a wife and son, and that's what made him choose to come back. What about you? If you were given a glimpse of your future and the choice to return, what would your choice be?
Ooh, that's heavy.
It is, right? And what lessons would you focus on learning in this life?
That's a question that really makes you stop and think. It challenges us to examine our lives, our values, what truly matters to us.
What kind of legacy do we want to leave behind? It's something to really consider.
On that note, I think we've reached the end of our exploration into John's incredible journey.
It's been a fascinating conversation filled with so much insight and a reminder of the power of the human spirit.
Thank you for joining us. We hope it sparked some reflection and maybe even inspired you to embrace the mystery and beauty of your own life's journey.
Absolutely. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep searching for the extraordinary in the ordinary.
We'll see you then.
So we were just talking about how John's near-death experience led him to a more spiritual path and helped him overcome his struggles with alcohol.
Right. It's fascinating how these experiences can completely transform someone's beliefs and behaviors.
And it sounds like his journey is pretty common among people who've had NDEs.
It really is. Many people report a shift in their religious or spiritual views after an NDE.
In what way?
Well, some find their existing faith strengthened, but others, like John, move away from organized religion and embrace a broader sense of spirituality.
Yeah, he mentioned being raised in a particular denomination, but now he sees himself as more spiritual than religious.
Exactly. It's as if the NDE opens their minds to a wider understanding of the divine, making traditional dogma feel too restrictive.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
They've had this profound experience that goes beyond any specific religious framework.
Right. It's like they've touched a truth that transcends language and traditional structures. They're seeking a more direct connection to something greater than themselves.
It's like they've gotten a glimpse behind the curtain and it changes everything.
Exactly. And this shift in perspective often leads to changes in their behavior, too. It's not just about beliefs, it's about how they live their lives.
Yeah, like John and his experience with alcohol. He was struggling with it before, but after the accident, he just stopped.
It's incredible, isn't it? He credits that same inner voice we talked about, the one that guided him during the rescue, with telling him he didn't eat alcohol anymore.
So it was like a sudden realization.
That's how he describes it. It wasn't a gradual process of willpower and fighting urges. It was a sudden and complete shift in his mindset.
Like a switch flipped inside him.
Precisely. And while every individual's journey is unique, it is striking how many people who've had NDEs report this kind of clarity, a newfound sense of purpose that helps them overcome their struggles.
It's as if they've seen a potential for themselves that they didn't fully grasp before.
Absolutely. It's like they've been given a second chance and they're determined to live differently.
And for John, that meant letting go of alcohol and embracing a life guided by compassion and connection.
Right. That brings us to the core of John's message, really. He believes our true purpose is to learn to love and to accept one another.
It's a powerful message.
It really is.
Yeah.
To live with empathy and understanding, recognizing the interconnectedness of all beings.
It's a message that resonates deeply with me, even without having had a near-death experience.
I agree. It speaks to that universal desire for connection, for meaning, for a life filled with love and purpose.
And John's story is such a powerful example of how a single event can have a ripple effect, not just on the individual, but on everyone around them.
Exactly. It shows how interconnected we truly are and how our actions can inspire and uplift others.
His story is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, our ability to find meaning, even in the face of profound challenges.
It really makes you think, what if we all lived with that kind of awareness, that sense of urgency to make the most of our time here?
I know, it's a powerful thought.
Imagine the impact we could have if we embraced the lessons that John learned through his NDE, the importance of love acceptance, recognizing our shared humanity.
He really believes those are the keys to creating a better world, both for ourselves and for future generations.
And he's not just talking about it, he's living it, rescuing injured animals, being there for his friends, sharing his story to inspire others.
It's a powerful reminder that we all have the capacity for that kind of growth and change.
We can choose to focus on love, connection, kindness, and make a real difference in the world.
And who knows, maybe by embracing those values, we can tap into that sense of interconnectedness that John experienced on the other side.
It's a beautiful idea that we're all part of something bigger than ourselves and that our actions can contribute to a more loving and compassionate world.
John's experience raises a lot of questions about life, death, and our purpose here on Earth.
It certainly does. And one of the most thought-provoking questions he poses is this. He was given a glimpse of his future, a future with a wife and a son, and that's what motivated him to choose to come back.
It makes you wonder what you would do in that situation.
Exactly. What if you were given a glimpse of your future and the choice to return? Would you come back? And what lessons would you prioritize in this life?
It's a question that forces you to confront your values, your priorities, what truly matters most to you.
It really does. It invites deep reflection about the kind of life we want to lead and the legacy we want to leave behind.
So much to think about. John's journey is a powerful testament to the strength of the human spirit and the potential for transformation that exists within each of us.
Absolutely. It's a story that invites us to embrace the mystery, to cherish the moments we have, and to live a life filled with purpose and love.
On that note, let's move on to another fascinating aspect of John's story, his ability to connect with animals in a way that most people can only dream of. You know, it's incredible how John's story makes you question so much about life, death, and our purpose here.
It really does. It challenges our assumptions and opens up so many possibilities.
And even with all the mystery and unanswered questions, there's this undeniable sense of hope that shines through.
Absolutely. John didn't let this experience break him. He used it to fuel a more meaningful life, one filled with compassion and purpose.
It's inspiring. Makes you wonder, what if we all approached life with that same awareness, that urgency to truly make the most of our time?
Right. Imagine the impact it would have if we all embraced the lessons John learned about love and acceptance and recognizing our shared humanity.
He really believes those are the keys to creating a more harmonious world.
And he's not just talking about it. He's living it, rescuing injured animals, supporting his friends, sharing his story to inspire others.
It's a powerful reminder that we all have the potential for growth and positive change, even without a near-death experience.
We can choose to focus on what truly matters. Love, connection, kindness, and make a difference in the world.
And who knows, maybe by embracing those values, we can tap into that sense of interconnectedness that John felt on the other side.
It's a beautiful thought, the idea that we're all part of something bigger than ourselves, and that our actions can contribute to a more loving and compassionate world.
John's experience raises a lot of questions about life, death, and our purpose here on Earth.
It definitely does, and one of the most thought-provoking questions he leaves us with is this. He was given a glimpse of his future, a future with a wife and a son, and that's what ultimately made him choose to come back. So he asks, what about you? If you were given that same choice, would you return? And what lessons would you focus on learning in this life?
The question that stays with you long after you hear his story.
It really does. It forces you to examine your values and priorities, what truly matters most to you.
What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? What kind of impact do you want to have on the world?
Those are powerful questions to consider.
Well, I think that about wraps up our deep dive into John's extraordinary journey.
It's been a fascinating exploration filled with insights and a reminder of the strength of the human spirit.
Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey. We hope it sparked some reflection and inspired you to embrace the mystery and beauty of your own life.
And remember, even in the face of the unknown, there's always hope and the potential for growth and transformation.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep seeking the extraordinary in the ordinary.
Take care, everyone.